Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 84. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Did you like that? I hit record and then just shocked you with it. You had no clue I was starting, did you?
I'm already deaf in my one ear, Dave. You know, I don't need to be going deaf in my other ear. It's the only one I got left.
I'll get you there.
You try every week.
and then I'll do my best to teach you sign language and give up. And all you'll know is...
A Quiet Place is coming out soon. I'm going to learn so much.
You're going to know how to do...
Dave's going to be hunting me for the rest of my life, and I'm going to be walking around the earth.
Jay will only know the middle finger and bullshit from Creed, where she teaches him how to say bullshit in sign language. Those are the only things you're going to know. That's it.
That's all I need.
So, man, what were you up to this weekend?
Well, other than not going to the Eagles parade, unfortunately, we had a great Philadelphia celebration for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Lots of my friends went down. It was painfully cold, painfully busy, and however, one hell of a time. Thank God for social media. If there wasn't social media, I'd probably be down there myself, but it's just not my scene. It's a little too chaotic, but by far the best thing that came out of that was Jason Kelce, our center, delivering probably the greatest speech I've ever heard in my life, especially for Philadelphia. And that was fantastic. If I miss breakfast, I'm fucking angry too. I'm pissed off. So, and it, you know, that was fantastic. But other than that, I went to a golf expo, Dave. So that was a lot of fun gearing up for. I have a little golf trip coming up in April. And last night, Dave, guess what? I had probably one of the worst shifts. I had a double at work, but the last 4 hours, well, technically, I guess you could say 6 hours because I had to do 2 hours extra. So I had to work 18 hours at work yesterday that I called out today. It was that bad of a night. I mean, it was only the girls' building. So I was supervising, and I had 4 buildings to look over.
Oh, when I worked there, the girls' building was the worst.
It was one of the worst in years.
It could either be
years.
Like going to the girls' building could either be the most chill day ever, because they can chill out way more than the boys can, or when shit hits the fan, it's one after the other. And
it was like that. And it's mainly because we have this one particular girl that has been very, very difficult. She might be actually getting transferred out because we can't handle her. She's for many reasons. But
is it well, at least it's not getting tampons thrown at you, because that happened on several occasions.
I was soaked in mud. That's for sure. So I got something on me, unfortunately. But anyway, so I needed a mental health day after that. So I took the day off, and that's
why your job is so good at giving as many, all those call out days.
Thank God. Yeah. Because, I slept in and, relaxed. I went, did some errands, did a little bit of shopping, went to the gym, got, some coffee, went to a little cafe. I just kind of
I had a low-key day.
No, well, this is what the number one thing I did, actually, this is kind of funny. I did a lot of driving today, so I didn't listen to any podcasts. I wanted to listen to music. Not just any music, like all of my sexy slow music.
Hold on. No, stop talking. Alone in the car, Jay was driving around. And mind you, he has no significant other or anything else. He was listening to sexy, slow music. Setting the mood for what? You just couldn't wait to get home to your hand lotion?
I just wanted to... I just wanted to kind of feel better and like get out of myself, not get hyped, just calm my head, calm myself down, get myself in a good space of mind.
Why are we talking about a day in the life of Jay on a movie podcast?
But I'm just saying, like, it was so bad yesterday. You have no idea.
Now
like,
everybody knows how you set the mood to jerk off. Like, it's like because you totally jerked off today. Just giving.
I did not. Actually, no, I did when I first woke up. But that was before the music.
But that's just every morning.
That was before.
That's just every morning.
If I'm off. I do enjoy my sleeping in.
It's like it's like you're still a kid who plays hooky from high school, and you're like, I'm gonna beat the record today. Last month when I stayed home sick, I did it 9 times. Today it's 10. I'm gonna hydrate.
Oh,
I'm gonna go
hydrate. I'm breaking out the special lotion.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna get the lotion because if I chafe up around time 5, I ain't making it to 10.
No, there's no way. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you have the luxury of taking a mental health day. I only get 3 days to call out, like every half of the year.
Oh my goodness.
But I wanted to get down to the parade myself, but unfortunately, like I said, call out days. Had the flu this quarter already. Didn't have any more call out days. Couldn't afford to go on FMLA or possibly get fired for taking off to go see the Eagles parade with 3 million people.
Yeah.
It is quite possibly.
Was there more than that? I think there would have been a lot more if it was warmer out. I guarantee
they're still tallying the numbers, but if it was over 3 million people, then it'll be the largest peaceful, and with quotation marks, peaceful gathering in United States history. Now,
really?
Yeah. Now, there's how they define peaceful gathering. It was not a protest. It was not a march, and it was not any type of wartime effort or anything like that. So, peaceful gathering means people coming together for something that doesn't involve like a cause, really. So it would have been the largest peaceful gathering. I think right now the thing that's ahead of this would be when either I can't remember, it might have been, I was listening to a radio show. It's either when the White Sox won the World Series, when the Cubs won the World Series, or when Boston won the World Series in like 2004. Something like that. But it was definitely a World Series win. Was like,
I can see it being Boston.
Yeah, Boston.
Fucking
yeah. How you fucking like me now, you fucking jack-offs? Anyway.
How about them apples?
How about you guys like apples? How you like them apples? So anyway, Jay, what I did this weekend was I had my daughter, so we just went out and had a fun time most of the weekend. I took her to a live Sesame show on Saturday, and I realized now my daughter's getting too old for Sesame. She's outgrown it. She really doesn't get into it like she used to. She still enjoys it, but she doesn't get into it like she used to. Like when she sees Elmo, she doesn't go like, "Wow, it's Elmo." She goes like, "Dad, look, it's Elmo." And I'm like, "Yeah, there he is. He's up there. He's doing his thing. Don't worry about it."
Well, you might be getting into a weird stage for her, you know. I don't know.
She wants to be she's 4, or gonna be 4. She wants to be a big kid.
Yeah,
she wants to be a big kid.
There's a change though between 4 and 6.
But it sucks because like Sesame was like the one thing that like she watched. I was like, yeah, I'm down with this. I could do this. I could watch like 10 episodes of Sesame without blinking an eye.
And we have Sesame 3 minutes away.
I know, exactly. I mean, she still enjoys going there, but like, and she gets into it when she's there. But like, if I try to put it on the TV now, she's like,
to our listeners, there's actually a place called Sesame Place, and it's like essentially a theme park, and it's 3-4 minutes away from us.
Yeah.
And it's been here all along, and I've literally been there probably twice in my life. It's kind of funny how that is when you're just so spoiled with it being around, and like as a kid I didn't really care. I didn't go to like Sesame After Dark. That was like the cool thing when you're in middle school.
I did. I got kicked out.
Did you?
Yeah.
I can see that.
I
and Kenny?
I jumped off one of the bridges into the lazy river, like full clothes on and everything. Yeah. And then security guards were
that
like,
must have hurt.
No.
Isn't it shallow? How shallow is it?
It's like 3 or 4 feet deep, and the bridge is only 10 feet high. You're fine.
Okay.
Fine. So I jumped into that, and the security guards were chasing me, and I was in the lazy river, and I was like, as long as I stay here, you can't get me. I must have went around the lazy river like 3 times, and then it took about like a half hour, and then like even the security guards were like bored chasing me, like they were just walking, and then I was like, all right, I'll just get out. And they're like, you have to leave the park. And I was like, no shit. No shit. Yeah, I'm going to go. Peace. Clearly I'm bored. Like, I could either spend my night circling this river and then you call the cops to get them involved, or I just get out now. Yeah. So I just got out. I just went home. I don't even think I went home. I think I went to my friend's house. I think by that point, everyone else was ready to go too.
Yeah.
We were like 16 at Sesame After Dark.
That's nothing compared to the New York story that you had at Manhattan.
No, well, I wasn't a bad kid. I was you
didn't have M16s pointed at you.
No, more like fat guy watching fat guys try not to trip over like inflatable tubes as they chased me down the lazy river.
Yeah, or that.
So we did that on Saturday. I took her shoe shopping, and it's all about the fucking blinky shoes with kids. She's like, I need shoes that light up. And I was like, all right. So like literally like
I might have had one pair.
I had maybe a pair. I don't remember what brand they were, but I remember them being called Street Lights. Like Street Lights. They might have been Reebok Street Lights.
Probably.
But they were like when we were older, like maybe like 8 or 9. Like those were like a thing. But like for little kids now, it's like a big deal. Like she had to have shoes that light up. So we're going through like the girls' shoe section for like her age, and she's just picking up shoes, and she's just like smacking the bottom of them to see if they light up.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And if they didn't, I'd be like, what about these? These are super dope. And she's like, nope. And that's how I talk to my kid. Super dope. These are dope. And she's like, nope. And then finally she finds a pair that light up. And I was like, all right, they're made by Skechers. I was like, Skechers is a pretty cheap brand, right? Nope. $50. Yeah.
Yeah, Skechers have like come back to the scene again.
I guess
they were popular. I think when I was in grade school.
I don't see men wearing them.
It disappeared, and all of a sudden now I feel like I see it all over the place.
I see women wearing them to work out and stuff like that. I don't see them worn casually ever. I don't see men wearing Skechers too much, and I see little kids wearing Skechers all over the fucking place. So
it's weird. I don't know.
But then I saw another pair of sneakers for her that were actually really cool. They were light blue Chuck Taylors trimmed in hot pink, and they had a white sole. And I was like, "Do you like these?" She's like, "Meh." And I was like, "I like these. I'm getting you these."
I want you wearing these when you're here,
knowing damn well that. Given the choice between the Chuck Taylors that I bought her and the light up shoes,
and she'll wear those in the mud.
She'll take the light up shoes.
So those white soles will be no more.
We're going to a wedding, and in my head that those shoes would actually match the dress she's wearing. So I want my kid in like little Chuck Taylors in her dress.
That'd be cute.
Yeah, it would be.
Nice.
So, and then on Sunday we went to the Camden Aquarium, and we've been to the Camden Aquarium like 3 or 4 times with her, and every time we go, she wants to touch a stingray, and she won't do it. Like we get there, she's gung ho about it. She's like, "Daddy, I'm gonna touch a stingray." I was like, "Yeah, you are." And then like we go into the pool where the stingrays are, and we get up to the railing, and I hold her up and I hold her out, and a stingray will come by, and I'll be like, "You gonna touch it?" She's like, "Yeah," and she'll put her hand out, and I'll be like, "You gonna touch it?" She's like, "No." No, I'm not gonna touch it. But this time,
has she ever touched like anything before?
Nope. She always chickens out.
Turtle?
Always chickens out. She won't touch the turtle either.
Wow.
She always chickens out. So this time we went and saw some other things. We got her like really excited. They have like the shark bridge like there, so you actually walk across the bridge that goes over the giant aquarium, and you can see down into it and stuff. And we kept pointing out stingrays when we saw them, and then we finally walk up to the stingray pool, and I was like, "You gonna touch a stingray?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then we go up there, and I hold her out, and not even hesitation. One came by, just boom, grabbed it. She didn't like grab it, but I mean, she just went out and just touched it. And then she turns around and she goes, "But we don't touch their eyes and we don't touch their mouths." And I was like, "Yeah, that's right." And it's like she listened to everything the lady had to say and instructions on how to touch them. And then she just went in, fucking did it.
Wow.
And I was super proud because
fantastic. That's
great. I was like, yeah.
You can tell that she's into it, and it's a subject matter that you guys are both into. So, which is really cool going forward in life. You know,
Finding Nemo she's been into Finding Nemo and Finding Dory like a ton. So she loves seeing all of the all the animals from those movies and stuff like that. And she loves Mr. Ray because Mr. Ray sings. So she wants to touch a stingray because Mr. Ray sings. And that's fine. If that stuff gets you over fear, like when we used to go through the shark tunnel, she used to get really afraid when the sharks would go over the tunnel. She doesn't get afraid anymore because she sees Bruce in Finding Nemo, and Bruce isn't a bad guy. He just smells blood and goes apeshit sometimes. But she doesn't see any of these creatures as fearful anymore, which is how people really shouldn't be afraid of them. Yeah, I mean, a shark is something to fear, but there's a difference between something being something to fear and something that you're afraid of.
Sure.
You know? So I had a great time with her. It was awesome. She always asks a ton of questions about the animals, and then you can answer that question, or you can tell her some fact about an animal and stuff like that. Next time we go, she'll remember that fact, and she'll tell me. Like last time,
that's awesome.
I told her the difference between like a boy turtle and a girl turtle. Like a boy turtle will have a longer, thicker tail, and girl turtles will have short tails. So when we're looking at the sea turtle, she's pointing them out, and she's like, "That's a girl turtle because it has a short, stubby tail." She's like, "That's a boy turtle because he has a really long tail." And I was like, "Yeah." Yeah, and I told her that last time, which was like 6 months ago.
Wow.
So she has a fucking memory. She retains shit like that.
That's a great sign.
Right, but then you ask her to count to like 20, and she'll be like 1, 2, 16, 20, done.
Unless she thinks that's like beneath her.
Yeah,
like it's too easy.
That's
almost.
what I think. Yeah,
like she's just kind of like
maybe
giving you a little bit of an attitude where they're like.
I'm not saying my kid's smart, but I'm just saying like my kid, like if
there's something there, that's for sure. And at that age, that's really cool.
If there's something she's into, she's willing to.
That's all that matters.
She's willing to learn more about it, and that's cool.
That's all that matters. Because guess what? Anybody can get a fucking diploma, and all you got to do is go to college for something you're interested in, and you're all right. Well,
I mean,
not always. Let's not get into all that. But not necessarily, but
you know,
at least you'll enjoy college a little bit more.
2 bachelor's degrees, a master's degree, and ain't doing too great. So, but hey, I have a just.
I love you, man.
I have a.
I give you a lot of credit.
How do I put it? I have a not successful podcast that I do every week. That's the one thing I hold on to. I'm like, well, I always got that podcast. How many listeners I got? Yeah, maybe I don't need to do the podcast anymore. Maybe I should focus on a career or job searching.
A little side job, a little part-time job.
Do a little gigoloing. All right, Jay, did you watch anything this week?
I did. I watched 2 fantastic indie movies that came out relatively recently. One was Mommy. It's a 2014 French-Canadian film written and directed by Xavier Dolan.
Knowing you, this involves some kid sleeping with his mom.
No.
Okay. Why is it called Mommy?
Well,
oh, here it comes.
No. So this is actually the Palme d'Or winner, which is the highest prize at the Cannes Film Festival. And it was always on my list because I was intrigued by that. If it was a winner, I try to seek them out. For example, Blue is the Warmest Color. That was a winner as well one year. So this one is actually kind of interesting because it revolves around
colors. Anyway,
a mother who's not doing very well for herself. You know, she's kind of like in and out of odd jobs, doesn't have a lot of money. She's a single mother at the time, and she's in her mid-40s, so she's kind of in a weird limbo. And her son is kind of like a kid that I work with, a very high-strung ADHD, like behavioral kid that just doesn't give a fuck about anybody or anything. And he's coming out of a placement center and going back home with her, and she doesn't know how to handle him. And they kind of go through a Rolodex of situations and emotions with each other as far as how to live together again. And a neighbor who used to be a former teacher comes into the fold, and it's a nice little 3-way marriage of sorts.
Don't use that. Don't use that term.
I said it for you. No, but it's an interesting relationship dynamic that has a fantastic ending that is very fitting. And I really enjoyed the movie. It's a heavy movie. It's not a movie that I would particularly recommend unless you're really into like some heavy indie movies.
Nope.
However, this other movie,
nope, hard pass. Next.
This past year's Florida project, highly recommend for everybody to go out and see. This is a definite Jay's Indie Corner stamp of approval movie.
I'm sure they're putting that on the fucking DVD cover.
Yeah.
Jay from Super Movie Brothers gives it a stamp of approval. That would scare everybody away.
Yes. So Sean Baker wrote and directed this movie. He actually did the movie called Tangerine, all shot on the iPhone, a couple years ago. So this movie is essentially a movie that follows mostly young children living in a motel just outside of Disney World. And it follows these single parents, pretty much homeless almost, in and out of jobs. This one girl, her mom is kind of like an on again, off again stripper, hustler of sorts. This other parent, she works at a Cinnabon, or like a diner. And it follows around this just the youthful energy of like, say, 6-year-olds just kind of going out and exploring with no parental guidance or anything, and how they just kind
poking dead animals, wrestling alligators,
spitting on cars, and like just random things like that. And Sean Baker does such a fantastic job at like putting these kids in these situations that seem so real and so relatable.
These are gateway behaviors to gangland behavior, Jay.
True. No,
I'm kidding. No, they're just kids. They're just being kids. I was kidding.
But again, you can see, but some things happen where like those, it does pop up that way. Like you can see how some kids interact with other kids in different ways, and things go in a positive way or in a negative way.
Sounds very Gummo.
Willem Dafoe is the manager of the hotel.
Oh, God, that's scary as shit for any 6-year-old.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's by far the straight man of the movie.
Where you going, little girl?
No, he protects the kids. He's fantastic. He's the actually only star of the movie. Other than that, I think mostly everybody was just literally regular people. They weren't even actors. This is a really impressive movie. I definitely recommend
seeing it. So directed by Larry Clark?
No.
Everything you're saying sounds like it's a Larry Clark film. Like
this is Sean Baker. Remember his name. So
I will not.
That's it.
No, I actually do want to see the Florida Project. That was one that's
I think you'll definitely enjoy this movie. Yeah.
All right, so I watched 3 movies this weekend. I watched The Ritual on Netflix, and that is a film that is written and directed by David Bruckner, and he directed Southbound. He directed one of the segments in VHS, and he also wrote and directed The Signal in 2007. What does all that mean? It means he doesn't have too much under his belt, and none of it's really crazy good, but I really enjoyed this film for a horror film. It's a horror film that's streaming on Netflix, and it's about 4 friends that are memorializing one of their friends, and they take a hike through the wilderness of Sweden, and they take a shortcut through the woods, and just some bad shit starts happening to them. One of the things that gets me is, it's kind of minor spoilerish to say it, because they don't really let you in on what's going on, but I really liked the creature in the film. Like I'll just say there is a creature in the film, and I really liked the creature's design. I really liked the background for the creature, and I had an appreciation for the way that the film set up suspense and stuff like that, and also gave this dichotomy to each of the characters, where they're all there for a different reason. Even though they're all there to memorialize their friend, they're all there for a different reason. One guy's there because he couldn't say no, even though he hates being outside. The other guy's there because he feels guilty for something. The other guy's there because he feels he's the leader, and he has to be the one that gets them all through this. And another one is there because he's a follower. So it's not anything amazing or powerful, but it's definitely enjoyable, and it's worth the watch. Especially if you like a good scare. It's not it's not crazy scary, but it has some good scares in it, and it has one of my favorite like up and coming British actors, Rafe Spall. So you might know him. I mean, he was in The Big Short. He played Danny Moses in The Big Short, and he was also in Hot Fuzz. He was in Prometheus. He played Milburn in Prometheus. So I mean, he's done a lot of like bit acting roles, but in this he was he was the star. I mean, he was the main guy in it. So I thought it was enjoyable. It's definitely worth your time on Netflix. All right, Jay. The other film I watched was a film called The Girl with All the Gifts. Now, this is streaming on Amazon. So this is directed by Colm McCarthy, and it was written by Mike Carey. He actually did the screenplay for it, and he also wrote the novel for it as well. So what The Girl with All the Gifts is about is it is a zombie infection, sort of. It's an infection film, except instead of technically being undead, it is a fungal infection that takes over the body. And Glenn Close is in it, and she plays the doctor who's kind of researching the disease, and she describes it in a way that like she says, like, you know, every brain is like an oak tree with ivy wrapped around it.
I haven't seen Glenn Close in anything in a very long time.
So here's the thing about Glenn Close: the older she gets, the more she looks like a decomposing Robin Williams.
Ooh.
That's a dark image for everybody.
That is very dark, because I've seen, unfortunately, what Robin Williams looked like.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what Glenn Close looks like up close. I mean, she's up there. She's like in her 80s.
I know.
Give her a fucking break, you fucking judgmental, you body image motherfucker.
I haven't even seen her. I don't even know what the hell she looks like nowadays.
I love how I'm the one.
I'm sure she looks regal.
I love that I'm the one that described her as being a decomposing body. And then I chastise you.
How dare you?
How dare you, sir? But no, it's a really good film, because one of the interesting things about the fungal infection is that it kills adults, but kids that were infected with it in utero are carriers, yet they're still immune to it. But when someone who is living gets near them, someone who isn't infected gets near them, the fungus takes over their mind and takes over their body, and they lose all control and attack them. So they have to take this little girl who has the infection, who carries the infection with them, because she's the key to the cure. But everyone gets close to her because she's still a living, breathing, thinking 11-year-old girl who has this horrible infection, and she will kill them even if she doesn't want to, because the fungus invading her mind will cause her to do it. And of course, the only way to really create a vaccine from her is to kill her and use her brain. So it becomes this big like question of like morality throughout it as they're traveling through like this dystopian London that they're traveling through, of like, is it right for the greater good to kill this 11-year-old girl and stuff like that? And of course, her school teacher is there, and she's against it. There's the doctor who is, even though she's all for it, she kind of sits on the middle of the fence. She has to admit that this little girl is alive. She's not just a living infection. She is a living person. It's honestly, it takes the zombie genre and it does something completely different with it, which I really appreciate. The only weird side and downside to it is, when I say it's completely different, is if you played the video game The Last of Us, it's kind of like that. So The Last of Us is very similar. It's people with a fungal infection that causes them to become mindless killing machines instead of. So, okay. But it's definitely worth your time. It's really good, and is
it a complete riff, or they just borrowed a lot of things from
I would say they borrowed the fungal infection and maybe the little girl thing, because in The Last of Us, you are I believe you're Joel, and you're traveling with a little girl, so they borrowed that. But I mean, other than that, like, no, the story goes in a completely different direction than where The Last of Us took it. So, but it asks a lot of the same questions, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it. And then finally, the last movie I watched, it is a silly romantic comedy that follows all the tropes, even though it tries to buck them the entire time. It's a romantic comedy called What If, and it's got Daniel Radcliffe, Zoe Kazan, Megan Park, and Adam Driver in it.
I've seen this.
Yeah, it's directed by Michael Dowse, and if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because he directed one of my favorite sports films of the past 10 years, Goon. He directed Goon, and was a writer on it as well. But I was enjoying it, dude. I was really enjoying this movie until the very end, when it ended exactly like you would expect a romantic comedy to end. And I was enjoying that it was a romantic comedy that was bucking the system the entire time. And it was portraying like this friend zone relationship in a very realistic way. And then everything works out for everybody involved. And I was like, well, then that's just great.
Yeah. And I think that's why the movie has not become more of a success, or people have not spread the word around as far as that. Because
even if you read the synopsis,
the
synopsis is like, know, Daniel Radcliffe's character Wallace is.
I would have potentially even put this on Jay's Indie Corner because it is technically like an indie little rom-com of sorts. But
and it takes place. It's a Canadian indie film.
Is it?
Yeah. Takes place.
I saw this a couple years ago. I think it's when it first came out.
2015.
Yeah. So, but you're right. I mean, I loved this movie for a while, and I really liked the relationship between Daniel Radcliffe and Zoe Kazan. But yeah, boy, it just went down the whole cliche route down to the end.
But only in the last 10 minutes does it go down the cliche route.
But that's all it takes.
I know.
That's all it takes.
It's crazy how like the entire movie like bucks the system and still keeps you invested in it even after both of them are like, this ain't happening. This isn't a relationship. It's going the way that you don't want it to go as the audience, blah blah blah, and they keep the story going to keep it interesting and stuff like that, which is a testament to it. But at the same time, at the very end, you're just like, we could have gotten to this place an hour ago and been done.
Yeah,
I get it. They're both quirky. They but one of the things that bothered me a little bit was every time they talked, it was a stand-up comedy act. Like both of them, like. It was like he was dropping a joke and she was picking it right back up, and they were
very written,
very written
scenes.
It was like a Kevin Smith written thing where it's like, people don't really talk like that, but it's fun to watch people talk like that.
That doesn't bother me if it's a kind of aware of itself.
No, it is,
and the actors deliver it in the right way.
It lends,
and it's refreshing. If it's actually something that's like still piquing my interest of what they're saying and talking about, I'm okay with it. It
lends to the characters more than it does, it doesn't really
for the audience.
Right. It lends to getting you into the audience. And I do, because of this film, I do really want to cook Fool's Gold now. And if you don't know what Fool's Gold is, this is the sandwich that Elvis used to get on his private jet, fly to Colorado Springs, buy this sandwich at a fucking diner, eat the whole fucking thing, and then fly back to Graceland. So this sandwich is an entire loaf of Italian bread, coated in butter, baked until the butter is baked into the bread, and then they hollow out they cut it in half and hollow out two sides of it, put an entire jar of peanut butter on one side, an entire jar of jelly on the other side, and then smash 1 pound of bacon in the center, and then you eat it. It is like 11,000 calories, and it is meant to feed 10 to 12 people. But Elvis used to eat a whole one.
And that's how we got Fat Elvis.
That's it. And that's how we got constipated dead Elvis.
Yeah. I mean, it does not sound appetizing at all to me. It really does not.
Well, when I describe cracked bread, people are like, "Oh, that sounds kind of gross," and then you eat it. It's really good. Cracked bread is you can take any type of loaf of bread, but I prefer to use Italian bread, and you cut it 3 times lengthwise, and then about 9 times. Three times lengthwise, 9 times I guess horizontally down, and you basically create like little bread cubes out of it, but you don't cut all the way through. You leave the bottom intact, and then you kind of like smush it together so that those squares kind of like pop up a little bit, and then you drizzle an entire stick of butter in between all the grooves, and then you throw a whole bunch of almost like an entire bottle of ranch dressing into all the grooves. Then you try to smash as much cheddar cheese as you can into all those grooves that you've made, and then you take you can either use make real bacon and let it dry out and then crack it up into bacon bits, or you can just buy Oscar Mayer bacon bits and shove those motherfuckers in there and then bake that shit 450 degrees for about like 10 or 15 minutes, covered, pop it out, and then uncover it and cook it for 5 more minutes on a broil so it crisps up real nice, and serve that to all your friends at a party. Everyone loves the way it tastes. And then when you tell them each bite's about 600 to 900 calories. I mean, whatever, you know.
They'll never come back to a party again.
Everyone was asking where it was this year for Friendsgiving, and I was like, oh no, me and Lauren are trying not to die this year. So everyone's like, oh, I was really looking forward to crack bread, and I was like, yeah, well,
I don't know if I had it last year.
It was there. It was there. I used to make it for like every gathering I had. I used to make crack bread, but I don't make it anymore.
I remember hearing about it. I feel like I did, but that doesn't sound like
I don't make it anymore. I just don't, I don't want to be responsible for heart attacks. Yeah. I just don't.
And it would happen.
All right, Jay, we got some trailers to discuss. 2 of them, 2 very small ones. So let's go over there and let's get into that. So let me tell you, Jay literally just said, my throat is getting sticky. I better take some bourbon. And I feel like
excuse.
This is his, no, but I feel like this is your remedy. Like, are you a male prostitute on the side? Like, my throat's awfully sticky.
It's all this talking, Dave. I don't like talking.
Let me wash all this cum down with a little bit of bourbon.
What are you saying, Dave?
You're a cum guzzler. Literally is what I'm saying.
Nah, it's all this unfiltered beer. It's just sticking into my throat.
It is. After our beer review, before we get into our movie homework, me and Jay have a bonus beers to review. So, but anyway, we're here to do a brand new edition of Trailer Park. Apparently, Fox didn't get the memo to release all of their trailers with the Super Bowl. They decided to save their money a little bit and wait for the week after.
Well, they are penny pinching.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, they're also been bought until, as long as the FCC passes everything. So,
it's still years in the making until it fully comes into the fold. But
probably a year from the decision, or a year or so from the decision, and then about a year after that when all whatever Fox had in production is done and over with and Disney fully takes over. So we're probably about 2 years out from Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine in an Avengers movie.
All right.
At that point, he'll be 55. I mean, do we really want it at that point? Do we want it, or we would rather see them do their own new Wolverine?
So, do you think they made an optional? They have like a scene shot with Wolverine for the final Avengers.
You think they did?
Just in case.
Are you asking me if they did?
I know they didn't.
No, they didn't. Spoilers! No. You heard it here first. Wolverine kills Captain America.
Sick. That'd be awesome. No.
All right. So the first trailer that we're going to get into, we're going to get the stinker trailer out of the way first. And I'm sorry if I laughed during this one.
Everyone's got their thing. Maybe it's a breakup, a death, an accident. Whatever it is, you used to be one thing. Now, you're something else. We all have our own problems. Our own issues. Our own demons.
The fire rises! What an absolute dog shit trailer that means absolutely nothing to anything whatsoever.
I am shocked.
The only thing that this tells us is A, it doesn't take place in New York. It takes place in San Francisco. Just like the Venom solo comics, when he promised Spider-Man that he would not stay in New York, he would go off and do his own thing in San Francisco. Because obviously if he stayed in New York, he would continue his feud with Spider-Man. So in the comics, he leaves and he goes to San Francisco.
Yeah, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, this is the Venom trailer.
I guess.
We didn't mention that, but
Well, everybody's got their thing. Everybody's got their thing.
This is just so cliched and does not show anything relevant towards the movie. But most importantly, this is a teaser trailer. You're supposed to tease the audience to get them excited for this movie, and it didn't do anything for that.
Well, I mean, so he's in the MRI, and like at the end when his eyes open and like he starts to like shake and stuff like that, if you look at the bottom of his neck, his veins are turning black as they come up. So it's like you're thinking that like the screen's gonna go black and it's gonna come back and he's gonna be like as Venom, and you're gonna be like, yeah. But no, that didn't happen. And so they teased you. It's a teaser trailer that teases nothing. Literally nothing. You see Riz Ahmed as possibly the leader of the Life Foundation, maybe, because we already talked about the picture a couple episodes ago that came out where we know he's going up against the Life Foundation. So literally all this was a scene of Tom Hardy running through the woods, a scene of Tom Hardy laying on the ground and then pushing his fist out, and they make it look like he force pushes everybody out of the way, but if you actually look at Tom Hardy's background and that office scene when everyone is like force pushed over, that's not the same scene. That's just clever editing for a trailer to make it seem different, to make it seem like there's something happening more going on than what really is. So far, it seems not interesting at all. And you can say, well, this is just a teaser trailer. I was like, well, guess what? So was the Avengers Infinity War trailer that we got. That was, and people got fucking pumped. People got pumped over the Black Panther trailer. People got pumped over the Star Wars trailer. People get pumped over teaser trailers. It's possible, but this was a wet fart of a fucking teaser trailer, man.
Teasers, I actually appreciate a lot of times more than full trailers because a lot of times you don't want too much in the full trailer. You don't want to be spoiled anything.
Right.
You don't want to see too much
but
stuff.
You can get a tone and a feel for the
All
film.
I want is a tone and a good, like, hanging excitement piece that just gets me going, like I want to yell at the end of a teaser trailer.
So can
I want to feel excited for this movie.
Did you buy? Are you buying his New York accent at all? Everybody's got their thing.
I mean,
maybe it's a breakup. Maybe
no, I'm buying it. Because it won't bother me the whole movie at all. I'll get used to it pretty quickly. My problem is, I was talking about this movie a couple times on the shows before, and as being one of my anticipated films, and I'm just absolutely floored.
Here's the thing.
I cannot believe that they put this out.
Tonally, it looks okay. Tonally, like cinematography matches kind of like the tone of the story. It seems very dark.
I'm still a little hesitant.
Right. But what I'm saying is that you're definitely getting some depth with it, at least. The problem is, in a comic book movie, they might be trying to go a little bit too emotionally deep into the character for it to work as a comic book action film.
Maybe, but they did show a couple things where, like,
I mean, were they
glimpses of set pieces?
Were they not invoking the Dark Knight with that score, that Hans Zimmer-esque score? That's why I said, like, the fire rises. Yep. You're a big guy. For you. Mr. Wayne. But the whole trailer just feels off. It's not even a trailer. I mean, it is a teaser, but it's a hodgepodge of scenes that literally tells you nothing about anything about this movie. If they didn't throw up at the end that Tom Hardy was Venom, you could have called this film anything, and people would have been like, I mean, Tom Hardy's in it. That's all this trailer is.
Yeah.
You go like,
it looks like it could be anything.
Tom Hardy's in it, and maybe Michelle Williams has a minute or two of screen time. Now, the nice part is if there's a little bit of a rumor out there that if you're wondering whether this takes place in the Spider-Man Homecoming universe, whether it takes place in the greater Marvel cinematic universe, there's been the back and forth between Kevin Feige, who says, yes, it is. Sony says it's not. Marvel says it is. And then they all just kind of dropped it and didn't talk about it anymore. And Sony finally said, no, it is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But then Tom Holland was on set for 3 days. So
maybe they're filming in Atlanta?
Well, but
I mean, Atlanta is practically Hollywood now.
But do you think a 20-year-old kid like Tom Holland is pounding around with 47-year-old fucking Tom Hardy? I don't know if Tom Hardy.
Young actors love Tom Hardy.
dude, I totally saw your dick in Bronson. What up?
Kinda.
You were elephant trucking all over that place. So, I mean, that's the Venom trailer in a nutshell. Pretty much nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, it's a thing now. It's definitely happening. You can always say that. All right, Jay, let's get into our next trailer. One that is far more likely to please, and one that gives us a whole lot more to discuss.
I was born into war, bred into it. People think they understand pain, but they have no concept of it. What's the most pain you've ever felt? Maybe the kind that leaves you more machine than man.
Wait, no, stop! What in the actual ass? Dale, why are the visual effects not done? It's a metal arm. It's not like we're trying to remove a mustache. Ah, fuck it. I'll do it myself.
I'm Cable, and I'm from the future, and I like blowing shit up.
Pew, 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 pew. Reach for the sky!
Oh no, Sheriff Deadpool.
You know, you're a lot taller in the...
Shut up, you little asshole. Take this.
Oh! Regeneration powers, activate!
That's not something you say.
Zip it, Cable!
I got the stones to help you.
I love that Wade is written on the bottom of
No
the
biting.
feet, too.
They're done already?
So much detail.
Oh, wow, that was unrealistically fast. Okay, hit it.
Your time's up, you dumb fuck.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
Definitely looking more forward to this one than the last one. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So for Deadpool 2, this trailer actually, it gives you a lot. So far, Cable has not been highlighted at all, really, in the market. I mean, he's there. We know he's there.
They needed to finish the CGI.
Right. Well,
besides one scene, apparently.
But it's really cool that like this trailer really focuses on Cable a lot more so than Deadpool, even though Deadpool's there with the jokes, and that's what Cable and Deadpool, like the comic book, was always about.
I actually do think that he's going to play a big part in this
he is.
movie.
Yeah, no, he's a huge part. I mean, he's Deadpool can only carry a movie so long, right? Like you can't do the same like literal thing over again.
It's kind of like the Jack Sparrow symptom where like he was great in the first movie because he was essentially a supporting character.
Right, but by the time you got to the fourth one, you made him the star of it.
Exactly. It's nonstop. It's too much.
Right.
It overstays its welcome, right? So an over-the-top character needs to be reeled in and put into a good movie overall to enhance the movie overall, you know?
It's very cheeky, but it's very real world when he makes fun of removing the mustache. That's kind of funny. It's the whole Sheriff Woody thing, and me and you watched like some videos and stuff, and people were like, "Oh man, is he just paying homage because to Disney properties because Disney just bought Fox?" And it's like probably not. Probably because it's really popular, and everybody who's watching this Deadpool movie grew up with Toy Story and understands the reference. That's probably more accurate than they're poking some bear with Disney there. It's probably more that like, you know, all the 20 and 30 somethings that are loving Deadpool grew up with Toy Story. So
and also we now have kids who are watching Toy Story and, you know, full circle.
Yeah. Or
So-
if you're my daughter, you might have caught a few minutes of Deadpool. Nothing terrible in it, but I did shut it off when she walked in the room.
Was there a candle sticking out of the ass?
There was not a candle. No. It was actually a very benign. She did ask me what was wrong with the man's face, and I was like, "Oh, he's just got cancer, honey." And she goes, "Ugh." But one of the things like I noticed was like, did you notice that like, so obviously Winter Soldier has a metal arm and Cable has a metal arm, But when Cable uses his metal arm in the same way Winter Soldier used it in Civil War, he's blocking bullets with it, punching guys. There's also a lot of homage being paid to the Terminator. We were talking about this before air.
Okay.
We were talking about this before air. He has the same grenade launcher as the Terminator in T2, and he's wearing a bandolier that's filled with the grenade launcher grenades.
There's nothing wrong with that, dude.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. He also has a fucked up eye that glows like the Terminator.
Right. It's just fucking cool.
Right. I do think it is. I do think it is cool. But we also get a lot of hints that there's something more going on with the mutant race. Clearly, at one point, Wade Wilson is in like a mutant prison, and then there's the point where we see Ricky Baker. It's your birthday. Like we see Julian Dennison, who played Ricky Baker in Hunt for the Wilder People. He's in like, it almost looks like a church, but like if you look in the background, there's all like these anti-mutant sentiments, right? Like humanity and purity and pure blood and all this stuff. And he's burning it down. So he's like some mutant that has like fire powers and stuff like that. We talked about that a little bit before, but then we get a scene of Domino beating up another guy with, like, if you look off to the right, there's more of that stuff that's like humanity, purity, all that stuff. So they're clearly going up against somebody, some power that is capturing mutants, and they are transporting them because we get Cable chasing down that transport and stuff like that. But it's clear that Deadpool is going up against similar bad guys of the ilk of X-Men and stuff like that. Like he's forming his own X-Men team, because towards the end we see him in the airplane and the bay door opens and he's standing next to Terry Crews and Domino's on the other side of him. There's that guy with the weird headgear on behind him, and there's another guy behind him again on his left. So there's a lot of talk about who they might be: Stormhawk, Starhawk, whatever. Who cares? The guy on the right might be Chamber, which Chamber is a mutant that literally has like no body almost. Like his body's been torn from the navel to his bottom jaw, and it's just raw energy pouring out of it. So he has to like have like a special metal casing put around him. It would certainly, that amount of weirdness would certainly fit Deadpool. That's for sure. But we see Negasonic Teenage Warhead. She's back. We see that Colossus is back, and the X Mansion is back, because we get the scene where Wade is laying on his back in front of the X Mansion. So a lot of the elements from the first one are here, with enough new stuff to keep you wanting more. And it looks like a ton of fucking fun.
I'm actually thinking that the action might be a little bit better in this movie, a little less stylized and slick.
It is an increased budget,
but I think
by not much.
Right, but I think overall, I think so far what I've seen, I think it's going to be a little bit more blunt and a little bit more fun and varied as far as with all the other characters involved.
Right, and obviously we know from the fallout of everything that this is not directed by Tim Miller like the original one. This is David Leitch, and he has action chops, Jay. I mean, he was a producer on John Wick. He was the director of Atomic Blonde. He was a stunt coordinator for The Bourne Ultimatum. He did stunts for V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
So he has some chops,
all with great action,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, but the nice part is he's got writing under his belt, directing under his belt, and stunts under his belt. So it's like he can marry your story with your stunts, right? He can make your stunts mean something, because a lot of times, like, a scene might have someone jump out the window, and it makes no sense why they would actually jump out the window, right? You want it all to be cohesive. You want it all to make sense. And even in Deadpool, you want it to make sense. You want it to make logical sense to your human brain. Anyway, it looks like it's a lot of fun. All the elements are back from the first one. New elements are being added. And Jay, I think you're right. This writer, director, stunt coordinator,
we got lucky with, I think.
Yeah.
And hopefully he actually draws a little bit more of a different kind of energy into this film. And obviously, as we've seen so far, it seems like they've written a nice little script.
Yeah. And that's going to do it. This is the last time me and Jay are going to talk about Deadpool 2 until May 18th.
Yeah.
When it comes out. It doesn't matter what trailers come out. We're not going to do more trailers for
no, we're not. We might occasionally drop in, like as far as like some fun promotional
One
material.
thing I want to mention now,
but what's up?
T.J. Miller, only in the trailer for a split second, he points a
Holding a gun
and says nothing. Do
Yeah.
you think that has something to do with the allegations against him?
No.
You think
because he's such a small player in this movie? In the first movie,
he had a lot of screen time in the first one.
Yeah, but he was pointless. He was kind of irrelevant in a way. I mean,
he was the only person who could literally match Wade in ridiculous wits.
Right. Yeah, but I don't think he's going to overly need to be in. I think he's actually going to have a little less screen time in this movie because they don't need him. There's no real. He has no necessary.
You don't think you don't think that that's a conscious choice by Fox to reduce his role in the film based on
it? Maybe in the editing room, perhaps. I don't think it's really going to happen in the movie.
I could see Fox, who's had issues meddling in editing and
because honestly, I completely forgot about the whole T.J. Miller thing because there's been there's just too much out there right now. I mean, it's not just the rape thing. I mean, it's not just the fact that he's being accused of sexual assault on 3 or 4 different women now. It's also the fact of how he treated the cast of Silicon Valley and how HBO has now spoke out against him and against people working with him for the way that he acted on set. Oh, yeah. So I don't know any of that. I have not looked into this story at all. I don't know much about it.
It goes deeper than Me Too stuff. It goes into his whole attitude towards the job. I thought that was
part of his shtick, though. Like even like when he was hosting an award show, I remember him hosting I think it was the MTV Movie Awards. He plays this like dick, like he's just like like a kind of a pompous dick in a way,
right? Yeah, he does.
I thought that's kind of like his thing. Now maybe he does go over and beyond, and he does
right, but at some
overly
point,
drink and drugs, and he gets a little bit too much of his character.
When you're working on a set and you're working with people,
sure,
your shtick has to end when the camera stops rolling at some point.
I completely agree, but okay, yeah, I don't know.
And apparently the biggest beef on Silicon Valley between T.J. Miller was with Najajani. So apparently, like, they really went at it several times, and that's HBO was okay when T.J. Miller was like, "I'm not signing my contract to come back. I'm not coming back," and they're like, "Fine." I don't think the show's going to hurt for it at all. I mean, he may have been the biggest name on the show,
right?
Big Sick was pretty big this year, so I mean, Najajani has a nice name behind him, and I think the core 4 of that show are worth enough to come back for. Yeah. So it comes back. Silicon Valley comes back.
Hollywood
in
is
March.
Not going to miss T.J. Miller because I can care less. I was never a huge fan of his. I could just take him or leave him.
I loved him in Transformers 4 or 5, whichever one he was in.
Was he? I have no idea.
No, he was in it. He was there. I think. I don't know.
I think it was in one of those movies that I stopped watching.
Jay, I watched the trailer for Transformers 4 and 5. I never saw
I saw a glimpse of him. I think it was in the background.
He might have been there.
I don't know. Maybe not. I think he was the Uber driver.
I didn't even see the one with the Victoria's Secret model. Whichever one that one was with Pat Dempsey.
Oh, that's the last one I saw. Yeah,
I saw 2.
I think the only Shia LaBeouf ones. They're the only ones I've seen. There's 3. I guess.
Why are we talking about that here? Anyway,
go
see Deadpool. Maybe don't see Venom.
I'm gonna take a sip of bourbon and get that stain out of my mouth. That Transformers.
Get that sticky out of your mouth. All right, so me and Jay got some beers coming up for you. Welcome back to the beer segment. So, for the beer segment, all through the month of January, Christina from the beer store that me and Jay go to, Philly Craft Beers, she was picking out all of the beers that we were drinking. It was just supposed to end after that month. However, because Jay became complacent and lazy, he has allowed her to pick all of the beers since the beginning of January. However,
she likes doing it, Dave.
She used to.
Well, until I started scoring them mostly on the bad side, at least on my end.
Yep.
She did not like that at all.
No. And now you have a bit of punishment coming. But before we get to that, we of course have this week's drunk scene comes from a film that is a coming of age story that is about what every teenage boy wants to do. Score some booze and get some tail.
Are you crying?
No, I just have something in both my eyes. I don't cry. That's funny.
You look like you're crying.
So, it's my last chance, and I fucked it up.
Your last chance to do what?
To make you my girlfriend for the summer. You're like the coolest person that's ever talked to me. I thought we'd both be drunk.
What does me being drunk have anything to do with it?
Rape? Like, is he implying rape?
Look at you.
No, I get it. He just thinks that that's the only way she might get.
Chef, come on, you didn't blow it. I think maybe. What the fuck?
Oh, man.
Ow! Shirley?
I'm sorry.
It's so short and sweet. It's so fantastic. I love it. I'm sorry. Shirley? Oh my God. Yeah, those two were so good and Superbad. And that's the first time I've ever seen Emma Stone before on screen. I'm not 100% sure as far as Jonah Hill. So, you know, it's just a lot of fun.
Did you ever do that in high school?
I know.
Did you ever like go like there and it's like really into this girl? I'm going to get her totally wasted, get her inhibitions down, maybe slip her to D. Like, what the fuck?
I get the mindset.
I don't.
It's just a lack of confidence and insecurity. That's all it is.
I don't think I ever was like, I'm going to get this chick drunk so I can get laid. I don't think I've ever had that mindset.
That's not exactly what he's thinking. He just thinks that like you need to be drunk in order to have fun and like maybe get lucky.
I thought you would get drunk and get with me. That's what he said. You would get drunk and get with me.
A little different.
I think he needed to choose his words better.
Different.
If he didn't want me to think he was implying rape.
I definitely don't think it was that. See, my mindset is completely different than yours on that viewpoint. Because getting two people drunk and having sex is not rape.
Your mindset is...
How is two people getting drunk and having sex considered rape? It's not.
Ask Aziz Ansari.
Now, yeah, that's a whole fucking mess of a story. Definitely on Aziz's side. Anyway, but
so join us next month.
Now, if he's slipping a pill, now if he's slipping a roofie in her drink, that's a whole different story.
Put the roofies in the jello.
That's a whole different story. That's a bad thing. No, definitely. But come on, that just doesn't make any sense.
Once you put the roofie inside the jello, then they fall ass up in the air, and then you have a good time.
I don't know what that's from.
It's Bill Cosby. I'm just doing Bill Cosby. I mean, it's probably a really bad Bill Cosby.
That was every Friday night at the Cosby house.
Do you ever think he like slips them a drink and then like they wake up and they're like, "Did I sleep at Bill Cosby?" And he just pops his head and he goes, "You got ghost dadded." It's called the ghost dad.
Ghost dad.
No, I never. I mean, I had the thing where like you try to score alcohol, you try to get drunk, you try to hang out with girls and stuff like that. But it was never like I never got bummed out if the girl didn't get drunk and fuck me. Like I never like, I don't know. It's weird. I just never. That's never.
He's a kid. He just thinks that you know the only way he's going to get lucky is if the girl is drunk. No girl would ever get with him.
I was not too different looking than him in high school, so I just don't. I don't know. And believe me, I had a shit self-worth of myself, so I just don't. I don't know. Maybe it's a
you had
moral
more pride, I guess. You know, I don't know.
Maybe I just didn't
self-worth.
Maybe I just didn't believe in lowering people's inhibitions to get them to do things that I know that they didn't want to do. Oh, what's that called?
Fair enough.
Oh, that's called rape. It's one thing if they want to do it, but still a funny fucking scene, though.
It is. It is. Because it comes out of nowhere.
The more awkward sex scene is actually happening upstairs with Michael Cera and the girl that he was going after. Because that is an absolute nightmare scenario.
Now, do you consider that rape?
No, because she was into it. She was drunk and she was going for him. But if she regrets it in the morning, it is, apparently. The lines are blurred, Jay. That's all I'm saying. And clearly you're on the wrong side of that line.
I don't think so. But
I love painting you into a corner.
I'm just...
My moral soapbox is so high. It has to be because you're so tall.
I hope nobody I know listens to this show anymore.
It's only people we know who listen to the show. At least everybody knows that it's just Dave taking the piss out of you and not your real thoughts. So Jay, what kind of beer did you get raped with this week? What kind of beer did you get stuck with from Christina?
Christina would do that to me, though. I have the Ballast Point Nitro Red Velvet. It's a golden oatmeal stout with beets, chocolate, and natural flavors added. It's 5.5 alcohol by volume, and it is literally a red velvet cake in nitro beer form.
It's not even a stout. Like just looking at it,
I'm not even getting an oatmeal hint to it either.
It's far too clear. Well, you are. I mean, that's that milky flavor to it, but it's more of a cream ale. It's honestly a lot like the Nameless Ghoul that we had from Broken Goblet. That beer that is it's called a white stout, but it's not really a stout. Like Mike from the brewery broke it down for me. He's like, it's actually like a thick ale, a thick cream ale. That the flavors mimic a stout, but it's light enough that it's really not. Right. And I think that has a lot of the similar flavors. Like there's definitely hints of vanilla in that.
Oh, sure.
It's really nice. I think it's really smooth. I actually dig the taste.
No, it is. It's not overly sweet. Now, the more you drink it, it gets more and more annoying and sweet and bothersome because drinking a whole glass of red velvet cake is a little rough. But it is well done, and it's a good beer. It's just tough for me to drink the whole thing, but it is well done. I mean, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think it's pretty well crafted, and I think a lot of people out there would enjoy this. So if that's your kind of jam, go seek it out.
Fair enough. I think I enjoy it quite a bit more than you. But how's the nitro on it? You know, like does that work for you?
I think the nitro is the only way to go with it.
Yeah.
I think that was a really smart idea. I can't imagine it being carbonated at all, and it would just, I think, go down a lot more harsh and just be a more annoying beer.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely nitro definitely smooths out a beer. Gives it that nice even head and stuff like that. So, I am drinking the Evil Genius Beer Company Picks or It Didn't Happen American IPA, dry hopped entirely with Mosaic hops. One of the interesting things that I love looking at this bottle, it's brewed and bottled by Evil Genius Beer Company in Pittston and Philadelphia, PA. Ow! Now, this beer is pretty fucking phenomenal. I really, really dig this beer. It's got that nice dry hop up front, but because they're Mosaic hops, it's a little bit more bitter than most other dry hops, and it's got a nice light bitter finish to it. I'm actually really enjoying it. I enjoy a lot from Evil Genius. They're certainly a creative beer company, and you gotta love their names. I mean, this one's a little weak, Picks or It Didn't Happen, but
yeah,
they
a little bit now.
I mean, I get them at a lot of the beer. A lot of the beer fests that we go to, they're always there. And they always have great selections. They're one of those breweries that roll up. Like some breweries roll up to those things and they have 2 beers on tap, maybe 3. Evil Genius has 5. Like they'll roll up with 5, and that's awesome to me that they're that confident in 5 different types of their beer to serve it to people and stuff like that. They're really, really up and coming beer company that I really enjoy. So this beer, I am going to be given I'm going to pull a J out of my hat. I'm going to give it a 4.25.
Ooh,
right?
Very nice.
Yeah,
I love my 2.5s.
I dig it a lot. So coming up next, me and Jay have to get into our movie homework that we skipped last week. So Jay will obviously be getting into George Miller's The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, and I will be talking about Chocolat. Here we go. Week 2 of movie homework. And usually I have Jay start off, but because Jay's movie is so fucking fan-fucking-tastic, I'm going to let Jay go second this time.
Thanks, man.
And I'm going to talk about the film that Jay had prescribed to me. So that film was Chocolat, which stars Alfred Molina, Carrie Ann Moss,
Julia Binoche,
yeah,
Johnny Depp.
It also stars Dame Judi Dench.
I was waiting for that.
In one of her, and I'm honest, like Dame Judi Dench almost never looks bad. They went out of their way to make her look bad in this film.
Well, she was sick in this movie, right? I mean, she was.
It's not so much sick. It's that they wanted
elderly.
They wanted to portray like this kind of like plain society that these people were living in this quiet French town.
Right.
So she even mentions to Julia Binoche, who plays the woman who's running this chocolate shop, that she's lived a hard life. Like that she had some wild times in her life. And it's one of the reasons that that Dame Judi Dench is estranged from her daughter and has never really met her grandson.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, there's little aspects of this film that like I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed like this small town atmosphere, and I like the idea of like every day all these people woke up and went about their day as usual, as per normal. They just did their thing. And this woman came along and she shook everything up. I that's the type of stuff that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed.
It was fun. It was like light and playful and cheeky.
Right. To an extent, until it turned into everybody, wanted her just to go along with their plan. And now we're going to burn your boat because you don't go along with our fucking plan.
But you can see how some characters would act the way they acted, and are very conservative, and they don't like change, and they're losing control of what they've always known.
And it's the 1950s, so being Catholic, being pious, being fidelitous, being just all these things. Everyone was very reserved. Everybody was very buttoned up. No one ever really seemed to really let their hair down until they got around her chocolate. And I think the chocolate was more of a metaphor than it was an actual power over people, except for a final scene with Alfred Molina where I was like, oh, okay, so it actually does have power over people. Where it's like they toy with the idea of, is it really the chocolate or is it her just bringing life into this place where she's a woman who she doesn't go to church. And she says it's not because I don't believe, or it's just because I don't believe that I have to go there to tell you that I believe. Like,
right.
And everybody in town says, well, if you don't go to church, everybody will talk. And she's like, so that's the reason you go to church? Like, and that's one of my big things is when I was a young Catholic going to church, I hated when I would see people being really, really showy about like being at church. Like people who came there and they prayed the hardest, right? Their hands were the fucking highest in the air, and they kneeled harder than anybody else, and they sang louder than anybody else.
Right.
And those are all people that wanted you to know that they were there. Look at me, my entire family is here. And that used to bother me because that's not what your faith is, especially for Catholicism. Jesus Christ, we go there to mourn Jesus. Like, we don't go there to celebrate him. So be that showy. But like, that's one of the things like I always hated about it is like this thing that's like, you go to church not because you want to worship God or because you want to feel closer to a higher power. You go to church so everybody else knows you go to fucking church. And that's exactly what this movie was like really getting at. And that's what I love that part where she was like, is that why you go to church? Do you go to church so that your neighbor knows that you go to church? So that everyone else knows you go to church?
Yeah, sure. I mean that's a small town syndrome. Right. There's all,
Right, exactly. And I loved Alfred Molina's character. He's this guy who he's the count. So he's kind of like the mayor. He's kind of like the guy who keeps everything together. He knows everybody. He keeps everybody in line a little bit. He even tells the young priest what to do and what to say a lot.
Yeah, no, I really loved seeing Alfred in this role. He's just so perfect for it.
On the inside, he's really just lamenting being a cuckold because obviously his wife ran off with somebody and moved to Venice, but he's too afraid to tell anybody because it's a small town and people will talk. Who knows what they will say? Maybe they'll say his dick don't work. Maybe they'll say that, he beats her. Maybe they'll say,
of course, they can say anything.
Right.
Nobody would ever know, and they would believe any kind of rumor that gets started.
Exactly. And he's fearful of that.
Sure. Yeah, it's understandable. I mean, this movie, I put this on homework because, no, it's not the most mind-blowing, greatest movie in the world and blah, 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 but it...
Maybe it's because you finally know me and you're like, oh, Dave's mind isn't blown easily. Hit him something with something subtle.
This is a subtle, whimsical little tale of a delightful movie that I've watched multiple times because it's just an enjoyable watch. And I do love seeing, like you explained before, the dynamic between the town and her and how things happen throughout the movie. And, and just different types of love and interaction with things with a simple backbone of just chocolate.
The film could have worked just as well if they didn't add in all of the stuff about her being from Machu Picchu and the North Wind. She has to leave with the North Wind and all that stuff. Like
that's a little much. That is a little much for me.
The fairy tale aspect of it went a little too far. However, this is a year where The Shape of Water might win Best Picture, and that is...
Jay Short says it will.
Right. Well, I hope that or Get Out will. Something a bit different than the standard norm. But anyway, and that is very much a fairy tale. So it's, I'm of two minds on it, where it's like, in one way, like, it reminds me of something like Pleasantville, but done far better, obviously.
Right.
But also, like, there's aspects of it that really remind me of like Big Fish.
Yeah.
Like it's very like
yeah, definitely.
It's almost like as if this story is a legend that people in modern times tell about their town. Right? Like we used to be...
Somebody who came into the town and did something...
This town used to be filled with boring Catholic sticks.
Right. Yeah, sure. There are plenty of people like that and plenty of things like... or situations that happen.
Right. Until that chocolate shop opened. And then it turns out it's all a PR stunt by that chocolate shop.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so that stuff, it's a little too far for me, but not too far that like I don't go with it. It's just... It doesn't let me into that lore enough for me to go with it. You know what I mean? Like it didn't let me, like, I get it. Her mother was one of those people that moved with the North Wind, and her father wanted to settle her down. It didn't work. And the mother left and the father died, and she carries her father's ashes around everywhere with her. And to this day, she feels that call to move with the North Wind until her daughter is like her father and wants to stay put. And then the urn breaks. And then for some reason, she's like, okay, here we stay. But Johnny Depp's character is the opposite. He moves with the south winds and stays when it's warm.
Yeah, which intrigues her, I guess. And maybe, I don't know. They have an interesting dynamic where I think they can, they play with each other. They are from similar types of like, they've been living their lives in a similar kind of way, moving very gypsy-like from town to town.
Well, I mean,
bouncing
Johnny
around.
Depp was 100%. His character and his ilk were 100% gypsies. She not necessarily.
A group of people that he looked after and took care of, and they moved along the river. It was just her and her daughter. So, and they had a nice little relationship and romance, and it worked for me as well. But
not an overt romance. Not once did they kiss in the film.
No, they didn't. Yeah, you're right. No.
They don't even embrace in a hug.
And that worked perfectly for me.
No, that's what I'm saying. I actually enjoyed that. I liked the fact that it was always tension. And even in the end.
Dancing. I think that they had a great dancing scene. That was about it. That was really nice. Yeah.
And I like that. That also adds to the fairy tale mystique of the film. Where, and there's just one scene that really bothered me. Alfred Molina's chocolate orgasm.
Right.
Chocolate made his toes curl.
I think Lasse Hallström, was directing that, and he's like, all right, Alfred, we only have like a couple takes for this scene, because obviously it's a big thing. We got to make all these, these pastries and desserts, and you're gonna get all messy. This is what I want you to do. It's gonna be something, but don't go too overboard.
It'll be something,
but it'll be something. And I think Alfred went a little overboard.
And as my wife pointed out while watching this, this is back when Johnny Depp was hot.
Yeah. No, this is. I'm a Johnny Depp fan. I would still say that, despite a lot of his recent ventures, but this is probably his most attractive role
and
or
he's
character
not in it very much.
in a movie that he's ever done. Yeah. So I could see the ladies just loving him.
So movie. Jay, nominated for 5 Academy Awards, won none.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I don't know what came out that year, but I could see it winning.
Aaron Brockovich was the big film that year.
Really?
In 2000. Yeah, Aaron Brockovich. I remember that being a really big
right.
fucking deal that year.
Well, it's just
it was number 32 in box office that year too, so
it did well.
Did pretty well.
Yeah, for a small movie, it definitely did well, I'm sure. I remember seeing the poster before outside of our little Regal Oxford Valley theater.
I remember Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was a film that was very highly nominated and touted that year as well. So, I mean, but looking at 2000, at the year 2000 right now, there wasn't a whole lot of competition.
Well, you know what's funny? I think 1999 and I think 2001.
Well, 1999
were big years with movies.
Was Shakespeare in Love? That was or maybe 1998 was Good Will Hunting, and then Shakespeare in Love was the next year. So
Gladiator was
that was Gladiator was the one that won Best Film that
won
in 2000.
2000. Okay.
Yep. So Gladiator was like the big shit that year. It wasn't the number one film. The number one film in 2000 was Ron Howard's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Number one grossing film in the year 2000. Castaway was number 2.
Did that well?
Yeah, Mission Impossible was number 2.
It's amazing. 17 years ago, movies like those movies, if they come out now, they would not do
well.
This
is according to Box Office Mojo. So, opening in the theaters wise, it did not do as well as Mission Impossible 2, which did 57 million. It did 55 million, but I guess this is calculating over time. So when you calculate it over time, How the Grinch Stole Christmas is the highest grossing film of 2000.
Okay. Well,
that's a thing. X-Men also came out in 2000, but I remember Gladiator was the film that stole it all in 2000.
Definitely, that was on everybody's minds.
Best director,
it was the
film.
must-watch movie.
It was
for sure
really
of that year.
But Chocolat it's very juxtaposed to that, but it's nestled in there in 2000, and it fits in that time.
It's a change of pace,
and the story works just as well today. If I had to score this film, like I said, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it would hold up. I think it's going to hold up for a long time.
Probably holds up better than Gladiator will.
I don't know about that.
Gladiator will hold up the same way Spartacus has held up. It's
probably
sword and sandals and stuff like that. But you might look at Russell Crowe and be like, "Who's that guy?" In 20 years, you'll look back and be like, "Who's that guy?"
In the beginning of the movie, he was pimp as fuck. That
true.
Coat.
But if I look at Chocolat for its positives and negatives, I didn't go with the whole fairy tale because I didn't feel like they explained the fairy tale well enough. However, I did enjoy all of the characters, but I didn't think the acting was great. In fact, at times it was over the top, which might be a little bit acceptable for a fairy tale. The story was very easy to follow. You know what I mean? Like it's very paint by numbers. Woman moves to town. Woman changes town. Woman becomes part of town. It's it does it in a bit of a different way. And like I said, I like the romance aspect of it. If I had to score it, I'd give it a B. Solid B. Definitely a movie I would watch again and not hate on it.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, you gave me Mad Max's Road Warrior, 1981.
Oh, Mad Max was the director of it? Mad Max's Road Warrior? George Miller.
This wasn't even really called Mad Max back then. This is just straight up.
It was
George Miller is the Road Warrior.
It was
there wasn't even Mad Max in the title, was there?
I believe in certain markets,
or in slang, Mad Max 2, maybe.
In certain markets, it was Mad Max 2, Road Warrior. In other markets, it was just Road Warrior.
Okay,
but it is Road Warrior.
Yes, so this
The Road
is I've never seen the first one or the third one from back then.
That's true. I
just assigned me the second movie
because you can watch it without seeing the other ones and be just fine.
Which is right, and that's very much true. This is post-apocalyptic Australian wasteland. As it enters, you see Mel Gibson just doing his thing. You don't know, he's just driving. He's got this car, he's got a dog, he's just kind of roaming around.
He's got an Australian cattle dog, which is a fucking badass.
It's an interesting dog, right?
It's an Australian cattle dog.
Very cool. I mean, you don't see them very often. I'd never really seen them on screen
Not in the
before.
States. Not in the States.
I don't think they're even allowed to even leave the country, right?
What? No, you can get an Australian cattle dog in the United States. Yeah, I've seen plenty of them.
Okay.
They're adorable. There's one of them in the fucking in Aaron Rodgers commercial. That's an Australian cattle dog in that commercial. So you can you can get an Australian cattle dog here. But they're adorable. They're fiercely protective of their owners.
Okay.
They're herders. They're adorable little dogs. They're lovable little scamps. But
so, essentially, as things happen in this kind of world, it's every man for themselves, essentially. And he runs in with some stray people that are just out for blood and gasoline, I think, pretty much.
Which is how every Mad Max starts.
This really, the main thing I would say about this movie is this is good old-fashioned, stunt work, like metal on metal stunt work. Everything is very practical.
Car chases, explosions,
yes,
fist fights, gunfights.
A lot of sequences worked really well for me. Some did not. It makes sense because at that time era, where you're not going to get the best perfect shots every single time. Understandable. I let that go. That's cool. So he ends up pretty much escaping, for the most part, this group.
Well, he gets captured by the people that he winds up helping.
Right, but that's after his run-in with the bad guys, you could say, that were trying to, enter and break down and tear upon this little community that has an abundance of gasoline, which is pretty much gold in this time and era. And he just helps them out because he was captured by them. He sympathizes with a lot of the characters in there. This little kid, for example, he doesn't even talk. He's just kind of like a wild little being.
Well, his name in the film is the Feral Kid, but he's actually the one narrating the story.
That's true. And it's pretty cool because he's just kind of like an urban legend. The way he talks about him in a lot of ways in the later part of the movie, I think. Right,
but this is what really sets up the mystique of Max, where Max can show up in someone else's story, like Furiosa's story.
He's a straight up lone wolf.
Yeah. And then he can leave and go off and maybe have another adventure.
Right.
And they don't necessarily have to tie into one another. Max can just always be on the road and have a different adventure and then come back. And that's something I always liked about it.
But in this world, that's always going to happen. That's the thing, because there's whoever's still alive, they're out there for themselves, and they have to fight, and they got to kill, and they have to be savages.
But here's
in order to survive.
If you haven't been privy to seeing the first one, but the first one, he's still technically a cop there's still somewhat of society still there.
I can see that definitely.
This one, there's no more society. There's no more anything really. He's
makes sense.
He's completely left the system, but he's not willing to lose his humanity completely. And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the film. Like you see the people like the humongous, and you see like all these bad guys who have completely lost their shit and are literally fighting over things like resources, gas, and stuff like that. Vernon Wells also is. We talked about him a couple weeks ago when we did Weird Science, where he kind of comes in and plays the same character in Weird Science that he plays in this. He plays Wes in this, the leader of the bad guys. But what I really like is that like you have people like that, like the bad guys who. It doesn't matter what they do; they can justify what they do because they need to get these materials to survive. And then you have people like Max and the people he's protecting who are still holding on to morals. Mm-hmm. And it becomes like a tale of literally good versus evil: those with morals and those without them.
Absolutely. And this movie, the first half, the pacing really bothered me, and it got really dull.
That's just 80s
and boring.
That's just 80s.
And I get that, but and the lack of dialogue and just the incoherent sporadic dialogue as well.
I like the lack of dialogue. I mean, if you think about Mad Max Fury Road, there's not much dialogue until about 10 or 15 minutes into the film.
But look, I mean, this is definitely one of those movies where this is a great like party background, music, if you want to call it, movie. You just throw it on, you can see occasional cool action, you don't have to worry about hearing anything, you just have it on the screen
for you. Nope. This is a film that when I put it on, I sit down and I watch the whole fucking thing. Like, I love this film.
Well, no, that's fine.
I think moments of it are absolutely visually stunning. I think the car chase that's the most important, are fucking amazing.
That's the best part about it, because we both mutually love Death Proof, and this reminded me a lot of like just that good old fashioned raw, just car chases. It's just
not just car chases, and two cars smashing into each other. Not a CGI
with
car,
no CGI, no green screen, stunt drivers, nut jobs. I don't know. I can't believe they legally did this back then. But
and a guy called the Humongous.
Yeah, I mean it was fantastic.
By the way, in a post-apocalyptic world, you would be the Humongous
with ass chaps,
with assless chaps and tight leather underwear and straps across your chest and a big metal man. Like, you would be the Gimp of the apocalypse. Like,
I will wear that this weekend. I'm off.
Can we get you?
You're off. We're gonna go hang out.
Oh my god!
And I'm gonna wear that outfit.
Can I be Max for Halloween and you be the Humongous?
Yes,
that'd be awesome. And I will get.
We will probably do that.
You will get. I will make you a War Machine type truck out of cardboard, and I will make myself like a tiny little interceptor out of cardboard. It'll be great.
We're gonna take over Broken Goblet.
Everybody be like, "Who are you?" And I'll be like, "Can't you tell by the tiny little blonde tuft on the side of my head? I'm Mad Max."
Can't you see?
I'm Mel Gibson. And everyone's like, "Yeah, I don't see it."
Nobody would get that.
But they'll look at you in that gimp outfit and they'll be like, "Yep, I know what that is."
Like, that's something. I'm not sure what it is, but
everyone be like, "Dave's being Negan again," except he's wearing cardboard box.
That too.
But Jay, so you like the car chases? I mean, we can't really talk about the acting because there's not a whole lot of that.
There's nothing really much about acting. The story, it's what you expect. It's what obviously
it's the same type of story as Fury Road. It's
right.
Point A to point B.
It's what you expect that was going to happen. It's kind of predictable in a way, but it's all about the action. It's really about that. It's about how raw and just gritty it is in this kind of world. And it is. It's an enjoyable watch. It's something that
cool.
I will it'd be hard for me to revisit this. Maybe
how I revisit it all the time.
Maybe revisiting the other movies to get into this whole world would benefit it for me a little bit, perhaps.
I say try the first one.
See,
I think the pacing in the first one is worse than this one. It's tough. It's tough to get into.
Okay. But I could see myself revisiting the second one or this movie.
And I'm gonna be honest,
more often.
For you, Thunderdome. Oof.
Maybe I'll just skip that one.
No, watch it. I mean, watch it. Go through all of them, because like Thunderdome was kind of like late 80s, like early 90s era. So like there is some cheese in it. Like it's cheese.
Oh boy.
But I love it. I love Thunderdome. I do love Thunderdome.
I promise. I will get around to it.
Master Blaster.
You'll have to see it to know what I'm talking about.
Oh boy. I will get into it eventually, I promise. But it's definitely mostly because I really appreciate this kind of stunt work and this kind of action. I'm a big fan of, minimal cuts, live action, real stunt work, practical. Big fan of it. But I will give this movie a B+.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's far better than I expected, man. Far better than I expected.
Mostly because of that, and nothing. As far as the story, as far as the craft of the movie, is from start to finish. George Miller could have done better.
Simplifying the story in an action film like this works. It just works.
It's necessary.
Don't make your hero be too complex. Don't make them do too much. But like Mel Gibson does show complexity in his performance.
And stupidity. Why the fuck would he leave when he knows he's going to get fucked up and caught?
That's
right.
That's called stubbornness, man. That's
stupidity. He's seen what they were capable of doing. That's just stupidity.
But a B+ is far better than I expected. I definitely don't expect that from your next movie homework film. So next time I
was kind of going with a B, but I was just thinking about more of the how much I did appreciate the action, which gave me
this is 100% a direct
B+ for me. So
direction is what this film is built off of. Like George Miller's vision of this post-apocalyptic world is what the whole film is built off of. Not so much the acting, not so much the story. It's the stunts and the world building that happens, and that's I think all that is 100% George Miller. So Jay, next time that we get together, you will be watching the anime classic film Akira.
Oh boy.
And I will be watching the extremely heavy melodramatic The Little Children. So we save these films for last because they are both polar opposite to what both me and Jay are attracted to when we watch films. But it's what we got to do for movie homework. So that'll be coming up next week.
It's what we do, torture each other.
So if you enjoyed this episode of Super Movie Brothers, make sure that you head over to Twitter and you follow us on there at Super Movie Pod. All the beers that me and Jay drank tonight, we will post up on the Untapped app. Me and Jay actually drank 2 additional beers while we were recording this segment. Both of these beers are from Foreign Objects Brewing Company out of Clifton Park, New York. And both of them are bold ales brewed with hops. So my beer was called Mind, Body, Light, Sound. Like, these are very artistic looking cans.
Extremely. It's like a painting almost.
Yeah, and I mean the font on it is very artistic. And they're not IPAs. These are different versions of pale ales. Mine was a very light, heavily unfiltered, fresh hop, up forward, bold citrus flavored IPA. That is the Mind, Body, Light, Sound. It's 8% alcohol per volume. I'm giving this one a 4.5, and Jay had...
I had the In the Gold Dust Rush Ale with hops. This is something that I really, really enjoyed as well. I'll just say it right now, I'm also giving this a 4.5, Dave. This is something that I thought was really solid, mild but bold at the same time, if that makes any sense. And I love this unfiltered. I'm really getting into unfiltered beers a little bit more lately. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna hopefully maybe we can kick into like springtime unfiltered beers or something 1 month. But
it's every month for me.
It's a great ale with like a lot of layered, like mild notes of like citrus and a little bit of melon and like some kind of fruits in there, and it's just a good little all around hop flavor that I just really just overall enjoyed very much.
Yeah,
and
mine was brewed with mango nectar and grapefruit flesh. So which is funny. Like when we poured these, yours was extremely like yellow in color, hazy, and I was like, that looks like the one that I really want. And then I poured mine, and mine was slightly more golden, a little bit darker, with a little bit more of like a bitter flavor. And we both tasted them, and then we swapped our glasses, and we're just like, clearly, like we got our lines crossed here. And like, if I drank yours, it would have been a lower score. If you drank mine, it would have been a lower score. But
well, sure. I mean, I did enjoy yours as well that you just reviewed because that was my original beer. But at the same time, we know each other's taste palates a little bit more. And
no, you don't know.
And
what you like in beer. I know what you like in beer.
I enjoyed the one that you had a little bit more than mine. But you know, I mean, Christina definitely recommended these. I will tell her the good news. I'm sure she'll be happy as far as me giving the highest grade I've ever given a beer that she told us.
There you go.
Forced us to buy and review.
Saved
as
your
a bonus
foreskin.
review.
Exactly. So you can find these beers and every other beer that we drink tonight and throughout our week on the Untapped app. Just search Super Movie Bros Podcast on there. Also, we are part of the Podfix Network. That's www.podfixnetwork.com. Make sure you head over there and you check out all the Podfix Network shows. We're great friends with everybody. We do crossovers. Coming up towards the end of March, you will hear my Star Wars show, which will run for about 6 or 7 episodes on the Podfix Presents channel. And that show is called Certain Point of View, where we take different aspects of the Star Wars universe and we dissect them, look deep into them, crack some jokes about them, and have just a ton of fun talking about the Star Wars universe. We've also added 2 new shows to the Podfix Network. The first being the Weird With You podcast, and the second being the one that I am co-host of, which is nice for a change, being a co-host, only having to do what Jay does, show up, record, do nothing else.
Booyah.
That is the Fan Film Boys podcast with Rob, who joins us for every single one of our movie cocktails. And then, of course, what just won our poll coming up later this month, we have our movie cocktail for Jay's fucking pick of the month, Super Mario Brothers movie. So fuck you, Jay.
You're welcome, everybody. I did it for you.
Wow, I want to
our
thank
listeners who always wanted us to talk about this movie.
I want to thank everybody for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly.